A police officer stands in astonishment as he observes a young child behind the wheel, navigating a car on the bustling city thoroughfare. The officer takes control of the situation by detaining the boy, but his bewilderment transforms into curiosity as he delves into the reasons that prompted the child to abscond with the vehicle despite lacking a license. Grace found herself in the role of a single mother, caring for her 12-year-old son named Henry. Their journey began when Henry was just 8 years old. His father departed abruptly for another relationship and remained absent thereafter. In the wake of this emotional upheaval, Grace and Henry formed an unbreakable unit, navigating life together as a resilient duo. Committed to prioritizing Henry's well-being, Grace ensured that her time revolved around him whenever she wasn't occupied with work commitments. Every weekend, Grace and Henry would go on adventures. They would drive to beaches, go hiking on nature trails, do water activities in lakes, and whatever else they could think of to enjoy together. On one particular weekend, they decided to drive from California to Nevada. They went camping at the Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area, where they hiked and took pictures around the scenic spot. On their drive back home, Grace suddenly stopped the car by the side of the road. "Hold on a second, sweetheart. I don't feel so well," she admitted. Before Henry could even respond, he noticed Grace slump towards the side of her chair, losing consciousness. "Mom!" he yelled. "Mom, are you okay?" he said, shaking her to wake her. "Wake up, Mom," he said. Then he reached for the water bottle beside him and splashed her with water. When his mom wouldn't wake up, Henry glanced around for nearby establishments, but all he could see was the desert. They were somewhere in the middle of Nevada. There were no cars approaching, so he thought fast. Henry started to pull his mother towards the backseat so he could get behind the wheel. He had no driver's license and had only driven once in his life. But he was worried that his mom wouldn't make it if they remained parked in the middle of nowhere. The 12-year-old toggled with the GPS and searched for the nearest hospital, a 10-minute drive from where they were. He stepped on the gas and breathed a sigh of relief when he started to see establishments pop up left and right, signaling that they were already close to the town proper. However, as soon as he got to one of the main roads, a patrol car started tailing him. "Stop the car on the side of the road," the officer said through his megaphone. Henry's heart started to pound. He knew he was in trouble. He slowly stopped the car on the curb and waited for the officers to approach him. "Boy, what on earth were you thinking?" one of the officers asked. "You're definitely too young to drive. What's happening here?" "I'm sorry, Officer Anderson," Henry said, glancing at his nameplate. "I'm driving my unconscious mom to the hospital. My mom was driving us back home from Nevada when she suddenly stopped the car on the side of the road because she was feeling sick. She lost consciousness immediately after. I had no choice but to drive us. I was scared she wouldn't make it," Henry said, almost crying as he looked at his mom. The policeman looked at Henry as if to check whether or not he was telling the truth, but then he glanced at the backseat and realized that there was indeed a woman passed out. "Go sit on the passenger seat. I'm going to drive you to the hospital," he said, gesturing for Henry to scoot over. But his patrol partner objected. "Come on, man. This kid didn't follow the law. He should have called 911 and waited for them to come instead of driving. We should get this car impounded and arrest the boy," he argued. "We're talking about life here. Look at her. She's getting paler by the second. She needs to get to the hospital quickly," Officer Anderson replied. "You're going to get fired. Everything should be done according to the law. We took an oath. Don't you remember?" his partner asked him. "Maybe I'll get fired, but my life won't end at being a police officer. This woman's life can end today if she doesn't get to the hospital. I took an oath to protect the community I am serving. I want this boy to have a chance to grow up with his mom, even if it's the last thing I do as a policeman," Officer Anderson declared. Officer Anderson got behind the wheel and drove Henry and Grace to the hospital. When they got there, Grace was quickly wheeled into the emergency room, where Officer Anderson made sure to assist Henry while speaking to the doctors. After taking some tests, it was revealed that Grace had suffered a brain aneurysm. "Thankfully, you were able to take her to the hospital before the aneurysm ruptured. If you brought her in 10 minutes later, it would have been challenging to save her," the doctor told him. Henry was overwhelmed with emotion upon hearing this. He was relieved that he trusted his gut by getting behind the wheel and started to cry. "Thank you, Officer Anderson. "If it weren't for you, I would have been an orphan," he told him. Officer Anderson's satisfaction stemmed from aiding the young boy and his mother, not initially comprehending the full narrative of Henry's single-parent upbringing. As Grace recuperated, he assumed responsibility for Henry's welfare, ensuring their needs were met. Following weeks of care, Grace's recovery materialized, and her gratitude towards Officer Anderson's role in caring for Henry and facilitating her hospitalization grew. Upon her release, she advocated for Officer Anderson within the police precinct, resulting in recognition for his heroism and a well-earned promotion. Throughout these events, a strong bond formed between Grace, Henry, and Officer Anderson. The officer introduced them to his family, fostering a friendship that extended their support network. Their lives, once divergent, intertwined through shared experiences, embodying resilience and camaraderie.